Next up, we have MAXRAGE Extended from the maimai soundtrack by EBIMAYO. Once again, everybody, this is a Basterd's LFA, a layman-friendly analysis. I'm a professionally trained musician, a composer, and my objective here is to explain things in a way so that you don't have to be one to understand what is happening here, musically. So, if you like the sound of that, make sure you're following the channel, subscribe to the channel, whatever term you want to use, like the video, share the video, leave a comment, turn on notifications, become a member. Once again, everybody, what happens if we reach 10,000 subscribers before Christmas? Members get early access, artists, let's collaborate, how to request songs if you're not in the live stream gaming channel, all that kind of stuff, and a bit more at the end of the video, so stick around for that. Disclaimers showing on your screen right now, so go ahead and pause the video to read them in full. Otherwise, please keep in mind I am acoustic and guitared, so be patient with me. Otherwise, let's do this. MAXRAGE Extended. Let's go. Okay, wait, maybe. Okay, so we start with, of course, three main components. We have our first synth over there giving us our initial motif, that melody that we're having. Motif being, of course, the smallest version of your musical idea, the seed, the essence from which everything else comes from. Elise, thank you for the follow. Welcome to the Mosh Pit. Welcome today. How you doing? So we're having that melody over there, which I really like the way it works because it's a melody made out of several. It's a phrase made out of multiple variations or multiple elements, right? So we have the first half being the actual motif, and the second half being a tail end that varies every that gets a bit more variation. So we can get like a first and second end thing going on there. Then of course we have our drums and we have the rest of the accompaniment doing their thing. Then we had a little bit of build up. Let me go back a couple of seconds so I can hear that again. So you have the bass line there. Okay, so we had there a brief moment where the drums just changed, and that completely changed the feeling of it. Holy crap. Okay, so we had that going on. And of course, as I said, the motif has two halves, which makes it a phrase which turns the whole thing into a melody, right? So we're having as I said, motif in two halves. So half one of the motif of the phrase is the motif, right? So we have the motif, ba 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 ba. Then we have the second half, which is kind of like a cadential melody going on over there, and then we have the half one part two, which is still motif, and then half two. And then followed by half two variation, which is the second half. So here we have motif, then cadential, then motif again, then a different cadential 2, let's call it that. And these are going to give us our melody, because usually your melody is going to be composed of different motifs, different small ideas, which then individually they're gonna form phrases, and then with your phrases you can get your entire melody. And that is exactly what we were having over here. So we have that, and then we changed the drums around for this build-up, and it completely changed the feeling of everything. I cannot believe I actually finally get to say this. If you want to listen to a song that has this, but to a more extreme degree, listen to the intro of The Mirror by Dream Theater. Intro of The Mirror, I'm gonna get it to them, Mr. Guy. So, in The Mirror by Dream Theater, you have the guitar doing the same thing for a full minute, which is called an ostinato, by the way. Ostinato, the guitar's chong, 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 chong. 1 full minute of just that. It's been so long since we've got to mention the mirror. So we have the ostinato going on, then the drums, the bass, the synth, they change around the guitar, and when they change, it changes the feeling of the whole thing completely. There's points where it's genuinely difficult to tell that the guitar is still doing the same thing. It's been so long since we've mentioned this. I was starting to really miss it. And then right now, to almost the same extent, we have a drastic change in the drums that completely changes the feeling that we have. And yes, right now we have 4 main components, I would say. Component 1 being, of course, a synth that is giving us our melody. Component number 2, we have another synth that is giving us accompaniment. which is just holding chords, right? Like it's the background, the non-spotlight. Then we're having a bass and the drums, which are doing their thing. Why can't you level up? I think you have to do exclamation point level up for that, and it's going to tell you how much. Anyway, so we're having that, and wasn't it like 1 month ago? It's been forever since we last mentioned the mirror. Yeah, it's been a very long time. Anyway, let's see what. Let me go back a couple of seconds, because we do a drop, and we bring in this other drum beat. Let's see where it goes. Oh, it's immediately... Okay, so we have this again. Okay, so we go immediately from build up to build up to build up. We have 3 build-ups in a row, which usually would be very risky, and usually it would not work as well. But in this case, we're just engaging in consistent escalation, and we are building that tension with this. So that is risky. But it's working, because once again, when you're making music, you're doing one of two things. You are building tension, or you're resolving that tension. That point in between we call the cadence. Now, usually the cadence, this is something that you do in your harmony. Once again, music has 3 components, right? You have melody, harmony, and rhythm. Now, harmony is where usually you're going to get your cadences from, because that's your chords, and the chords will have specific points of tension, that kind of thing, which result in your cadences. For example, let me bring you a quick example of a cadence, right? I keep forgetting that the taskbar is not behaving. Let's say we have over here the key of C major. Oh. This chord over here, I reached the cadential point, and then cadence is built, and now if I go back to C, cadence is resolved. So this is usually something very, very common in your harmony, and you see it all the time. And Steve Max, welcome today. How you doing? So we're having that going on. However, in electronic music, I would say electronic music is arguably the easiest one to make out of all the other ones, because you don't have to worry so much about harmony. You don't have to worry about what chords you're using, what kind of stuff you're using. Your melodies, you can, in some subgenres, you don't even have to worry about that. All you have to worry about is your build-ups, dropping the beat properly, and some good beats and rhythms. Most of electronic music, I would say a good chunk is more on sound design rather than a few of the other things, which, you know, it has its pros and its cons, because, you know, the pro is that makes it a lot more accessible, and the con is that, well, it makes it that more complex stuff is not as accessible, right? So when it comes to electronic music, the concept of cadence is usually leading to a beat drop. And right now it seems we're doing that. And what we were doing with the consistent buildup, usually in regular cadence, we would call it a deceptive cadence, which deceptive cadence, as I said, usually these happen in the harmony, in the chords. So let's bring back the same chord progression I was doing, right? Which is C major. And thank you for the follow. Welcome to the Mosh Pit. Welcome today. How you doing? So we're having, right? So we have this, and if we were to resolve it back to the expected cadence, resolve the cadence properly, we go back here. However, if we engage in a deceptive cadence, it basically means going anywhere except where you build the expectation to go. So let's say we do this instead, right? And then we go. So we have that going on over here. We create that deceptive cadence. However, as I just said, electronic music usually doesn't use that same type of cadences. So that means you are a little bit left out of this. So how do you solve this problem? How do you make a deceptive resolution in electronic music? Well, you want to keep building tension, because the whole point of a deceptive resolution is, or a deceptive cadence, is to get this effect over here, where you partially resolve and you immediately continue building up, so that you can then make a stronger resolution down here, or in the case of what we're hearing over here, you do it again, and you create even more tension. How do you do that in electronic music? You have to increase the tension, you have to build up a lot more tension. Use your drums. use your drums a lot more, increase the madness that is going on, and you're just building and building and building. Right now we're on our third build-up, which is risky. If you do too much of these kinds of things, if you do too many deceptive resolutions in a row, you risk making that, you risk breaking the music. Like, some of these things have a very careful balance that you have to keep. Let's see where it goes. And by the way, the second build-up that we had, the third build-up that we had just now, also did a little bit of sidechaining for the motif. Sidechaining being when the drums interrupt the whatever is being sidechained. So whenever the drums would hit, in this case the melody was getting muted. I've seen two types of sidechaining. One is more of a gradual sidechain, like kind of like turning down and back up a circular knob, and the other one being binary, like off and on. Put it in a box. Welcome to Layman. How you doing? So yeah, let's see where this builds up to. Let me go back a couple of seconds. There we go. We have another. Okay, so we bring in our first dropping of the beat, which 100% resolves all of the tension that we were building. It completely brings down the beat and goes off in, oh my god. It's more of a gate effect? I think so. Yeah, I think so. So yeah, we're having this going on. We're bringing what I think is a variation of the motif on this, which I would say is a reduced version of the motif. So reduction in music is a way that you can develop your material more easily, which is just speeding up. Like, you repeat something and you just speed it up. So let's say we have something like this, right? If we were to reduce it, simple as, right? So we're doing very fast. We are keeping the bass line the same as before, and of course now we're engaging with this type. I don't know the subgenres of electronic music yet, and I'm probably not going to remember them ever. It's funnier that way. So let's see where this goes. Oh, wait. Go back a couple of seconds. A little bit of rhythmic displacement over there. Again, rhythmic displacement, we are, well, displacing something in the rhythm. We are giving us a break from the intensity of this by doing a vocal sample. So let's see where this goes. French guy, welcome today. How you doing? Let's see where it goes. And goes immediately to another build-up. And oh, that was brilliant. So we have a quick build-up over here. It looks like we're doing build-ups, kind of like we're doing cadences. We're building up for these cadences. We're building up for these drops. We drop this beat again, and we go now to, once again, changing the drums around. We're bringing a different reduction of the original motif. Now, not as fast as we were having it during the first drop, but it is now a bit more coherent. We can tell more or less where the notes are going, and it's basically the first version of the motif that we had, with a couple of extra adornments, it sounds like. Adornments being like extra notes that you can put, right? Like passing tones or neighboring tones, that kind of thing. So let me explain that, right? Because I had to mention that. So passing tone. A passing tone means that you are adding a note in between the notes. Let's say we have over here, I keep bringing the wrong side. So let's say we have over here, right? Let's say we have that over here, and a passing tone could be a note in between any of the other notes we're doing. If we were to do this, there are two ways that you can usually do things when these interpretations. You can do things diatonically, or you can do it chromatically. Diatonic just means that you're staying within the scale that you're working with. Chromatic means that you're not. Diatonic, so let's say, for example, we are in this key of C major, right? That's, for the examples that I'm giving, I usually do C major because it's the simplest key, right? Which is just all the white keys in the keyboard. So if we were to do a diatonic passing tone, the only place where we can have a passing tone would be this D over here. So if we were to put a passing tone in this phrase, it would simply be not the most exciting thing, but it would add. However, chromatic means that you're borrowing from the outside of the scale, which would be any, in this case, any of the 5 notes that are left out of the scale. So in this case, we have a lot more options. Because now we have, for example, we have C sharp, we have D sharp, and we have F sharp as an option. So we could... It adds very different. Technically a passing tone. Technically a passing tone. Technically a passing tone. So we're having these, and then the other one being a neighboring tone. Neighboring tone means that you're adding, that you have a group of notes that the first note and the last note is the same note, but you add one note in between. So let's say if we were to add, let's say we have that, we can have that in any of these, but it would require us to add one extra note. Finsky, I will explain, don't worry. We're not taking requests just yet, so, but you do need points, and for that you need to watch the stream. So let's say passing tone, a neighboring tone, as I said, you have 4 types. You have the single neighboring tone, which means you have the first, starting the first note. You have a note that is repeated, and then you can have an upper neighboring tone, which means you have a note above, or a lower neighboring tone, which is the lower note. In the case of, let's say, C, if we were to have an upper neighboring tone, lower neighboring tone is the other way around. Then we have the double neighboring tone, which you can do when you're doing both upper and lower, just in a different order. You can have upper, lower, which in this case, or the other way around, lower, upper. And then you can add it to your, oh my god. You can add it to your motif. Royal Puleto, thank you for the gifted subs. Thank you for the gifted subs. That's 7.5 right there. Thank you so much. Appreciate your support. So yeah, let's add it to this motif that we came up with. So let's say we're doing an upper neighboring tone on C. So it's already adding, and you can have these as like grace notes. Or we can have them the other way around. So you can add these. You can really, really mess around with neighboring tones, this kind of stuff. Grace notes, by the way, a grace note is a note that you play very, very quickly. You can play them like in between. Or you can have them as, for example, Mozart's, I think it says Sonata in B flat, which was what? Because it was... I think it's higher. It's been a while since I've played it. But basically the first few notes of this, like the first note of the phrase is this. And the other notes, these are just grace notes. So yeah, these are, of course, can be written many, many different times, many different ways, but yeah. And yeah, for those of you who just got your gifted subs, enjoy your ad-free viewing, your emotes, and your badges. So yeah, we have that going on. We're adding some extra adornments throughout this. Let's see where it goes. Yes, Jude, so yes, we are. So while we're having the motif playing now, okay, so we have a quick moment of these. We bring a little bit of that rhythmic displacement, and then we bring in this new rhythm. I love how much variation we're getting in the drums over here. Now the motif is being played in a more elongated way in between times, because we're having this like woo sound going on, and we're getting it a bit more spliced out in a partial elongation. Elongation is the opposite of reduction, in which instead of compressing your material, you are stretching your material. And in this case, we are also engaging in rhythmic displacement for this material, where we're having the first place being played, then we're letting a little bit more time play, second half of the phrase, and so on. We're spacing these things out a little bit to let other things play out. And of course, we're also playing this a little bit lower in the register. It's not as high up, so that the other higher notes can have a little bit more room, because while you can technically have a bunch of different sounds in this same area, usually you do want to take advantage of the full spectrum of sound. So, every 5 minutes, Steam Eyes, every 5 minutes. So yeah, let's see where this goes. Ooh. Another drop kind of thing, and we are still getting those variations of the motif. And off the ramp we go. Off the ramp, of course, being a colloquial term that I use. Colloquial, by that I mean there's no official academic definition for this, or at least I'm choosing not to use it for the sake of simplicity. And off the ramp is what I call a specific type of transition that makes your listener feel suspended up in the air at the mercy of inertia, waiting to see where you land. How do you do this? Remove the drums. Maybe the bass as well, which is kind of what we're seeing over here. You can remove as many layers as you want, really, as long as you keep getting that feeling of being suspended. And usually you want to remove from the lower layers, right? Like you don't really want to just keep the drums for that, because then you're not really going off a ramp, you're kind of digging a tunnel. So very, very different. So yes, we're having this going on over here. Let me go back a little bit because I want to hear this again. So we're having the bass keeping the beat now, and another variation of the drums. Variation of the motif, we're still getting that. And okay, we get a break now. Immediately into another build-up. So yeah, we bring another, these drums again that we've done before, we bring another variation of the motif, and we're just completely focusing on this. Interestingly enough, we have not really done anything outside. Like the most the motif has moved in the scale has been in the octave that it's being played, which is kind of not really octave displacement, it's just you're playing it at a different octave. And the rest is being carried by the drums and the bass. Let's see where it goes. Okay, I see. So now we're taking advantage of that second half of the phrases, and we're putting the focus here this time around, which, by the way, I mentioned these before, cadential motifs. Cadential motifs or phrases or melodies. These ones are the type of melodies that you can use to finish a melody, right? Because when it comes to motifs are extremely jealous, extremely temperamental, and to the point that if you don't constantly give the spotlight to your motif, it will break your music. There are many ways in which it can happen, and it will happen if you do not constantly give your motif the attention that it demands. Like, it's very demanding. However, motifs are very okay with the idea of cadential motifs, which means you can add cadential motifs at the end of your phrases, at the end of your melodies, and it's kind of like the motif understands that it is to bring things back to the start so that the motif can have another go. So if we were to do this cadential motifs, as I said, these ones are little phrases that are kind of more cliche, that the whole purpose of these is to finish the melody, to finish whatever we're doing. So much as the chords build the cadence, you have that also in the melody, that you use melodies for it. For example, the one of the most used ever. That's it. Then you can have also, or that kind of thing, right? So you can have them. We can do this right now, right? Let's say we have the motif we made earlier. So let's say we have that. We have this going on, and we can make repetitions. We can just repeat this motif and do cadential melodies after that. So and it feels like it's part of the melody, like it's intended to be there, like it's part of the motif, even though these are all phrases that, with the exception of this one, that had a similar rhythm, the other ones are just there to finish the melody, but it fits with the motif. So right now we're focusing on those and giving those more variation over here, building them into kind of their own versions of their motifs, while the main version of the motifs, while the motifs themselves are still getting their own adornments and everything else going on. This is very clever. Let's see where it goes. Alright, we bring this back down to the lower register. Build up again. Gunther, welcome to the Heroin. Rhythmic displacement. So we bring in now another drop, and we're doing variation after variation after variation, doing this one more like a beat drop, like a proper beat drop, instead of just being another development of this, but we are still developing the different material. This is wild. Because we got, like, in the span of these, like, 5 seconds, we got probably, like, 3 or 4 completely new variations of the motif that we hadn't heard before. Which usually would be a big risk to introduce so many variations so quickly. However, since we did it in a beat drop, we can get away with it. Let's see where this goes. And the drums, of course, have this rhythm. And... alright, now we bring it... okay, rhythmic displacement, we bring it back to this version. Build up once again. And we get round 2, apparently. Too overwhelming for me. I mean, this is what, breakcore, something like that. Like, this is supposed to be intense. Like, this is the kind of stuff like that Camellia makes, right? This is made for maimai, and maimai is one of those super high intensity. Like, just look at the art, right? Like, you can tell this is like a Japanese game that, unless you are Japanese, you have to be on like several kilos of cocaine to be able to fully play, right? Or you have to, you know, have no job and spend like 7 hours a day just practicing a single song just to be able to get to like 50% of it. That kind of thing, right? Like, it's extremely high intensity, high tension, fast-paced, breakneck speed the whole way through. So you have to start the game. There you go. So yeah, it's very, very high intensity. Which, from what I've seen in other maimai soundtracks that we've done before, this is pretty in line. Was with Japanese people and making fast music, they're like, the Japanese lifestyle is very hectic. It's very fast paced. It's like Japan, like many people think that Japan is like in the animes where it's on like the countryside and like you just walk home from school and everything. No, it's brutal. It's brutal. It's a brutal place to live in. It's very extremely fast paced. Like the trains run so on time that if they're more than like 10 seconds late, they have to issue like the whole company issues an apology kind of thing, right? Like, it's extreme discipline, extreme breakneck speed. You're working 10, 12, 16-hour days with no overtime kind of thing. Japan is a very, very fast-paced place. And with that, well, this kind of reflects the culture, yeah. Like, this kind of thing is going to be reflected in the culture. Like, I haven't been to Japan. I love my Japanese friends. And I love the idea of visiting Japan, but I know that it's brutal. That Japan is not, that is one of those places where everybody has to be a workaholic. So, yeah. You know anything about the amount of suicide? Oh, no, yeah. Like again, as I said, it's brutal and it takes a toll. It takes a toll. So, yeah. It's one of those things that the music will probably, because there's you see it in the advertising, you see it in the music and the video games, that Japanese media is usually a reflection of how insane things kind of are over there. So yeah, it's gonna be reflected in the music, so it's gonna be high intensity. So yeah, let's try not to get sidetracked. So yeah, let's see where this goes. Another build up, round 2. Even more intensity. Like, what's surprising me over here about this whole thing is how even though we are already this much like intensity and breakneck speed in, we are still somehow escalating it even further. Like, this is wild. This is wild. Like, this is not something I would listen to. Well, This is not something that I would listen to, says the guy that has in his daily playlist fucking Mors Principium Est and The Faceless, right? Like, insane, like, The Faceless is, like, very fast-paced, technical death metal kind of thing, and Between the Buried and Me and Mors Principium Est, that kind of stuff. Like, I love high-intensity music, but these ones are a little bit more, on the melodic side. So yeah, this one is very intense, and we keep bringing up the intensity, and we're somehow still not neglecting the motifs for a second. Like, even though we're getting all this rhythmic displacement, like we're getting interrupted by the drums, all this kind of stuff, we are still giving it the time to give the motif the spotlight. It's wild. Let's see where it goes. Again, yeah, there we go. Build up once again. Yes, I have Arclight, yes. Alright, we bring this, like, ska? Like, what the fuck? How did you bring ska into this? How did you bring ska, a rhythm more representative of ska, into your, like, breakneck speed, super hardcore electronic music, and you made it work? How the hell did this happen? Like, this is super well made. This is super well made. How the hell did you manage to sneak in a ska drum? Ska, by the way, SKA, ska. Super fun genre, by the way. Super fun genre. It's basically what happens when you mix reggae with punk. It's really fun. It's really fun. My favorite band of ska is called Scape. It's a Spanish band. And they're really, really fun. And it's usually it's very different than this. And we somehow brought in, and it's working. And yes, the blackboard stayed. Yeah, it took me, what, 530 LFAs to figure out that I could use the blackboard instead. Yeah, now we're just using it because it's easier on the eyes. Anyway, let's see where this goes, because this is insane. Let's see where this goes. Variation of the motifs. Alright, we speed up the drums again. Build up again. And back to... Ooh. Okay, another drop. This is the longest we've gone without the motif. This is the longest we've gone without the motif. And this seems to be like the drop, because once again, when you're making music, you want to keep a careful balance between what is familiar and what is new. Too much familiarity, too much material too much of the same material, too much repetition, you risk boring the listener, they tune out. Too much new material too quickly, you risk overwhelming the listener, they tune out. However, like in this case, like too much new material too quickly, we're introducing that and it's still working, because it has to be relative. So we're having that, and we are 1 hour. No, you're looking at the stream clock. No, we started the first LFA at like half an hour in. So yeah, we're still in the first one of the day. So yeah, we're having that, and the exception to this thing is, in general, for universal exception, is going to be solos. So if you bring a solo of any instrument, you can get away with anything, pretty much anything, as long as it sounds cool enough and as long as it fits enough. Second, that is excluded. Then electronic music has an additional exception, which is dropping the beat. You drop the beat, you can get away with pretty much anything as long as it fits and it sounds cool enough. And in this case, now we are bringing in the dropping of the beat. Even though we have been dropping the beat consistently, we have been using those drops more as transitions rather than dropping the beat. So in that sense, this track does suffer from the effect of diminishing returns. If you don't know what a diminishing return is, basically, if you do the same thing too many times in a row, after a certain point, each subsequent iteration will have less of an effect. So basically, let's say we have this kind of undulation, and we're trying to keep this undulation, and after a while, each subsequent iteration is going to have less and less of an effect. That's usually how diminishing returns work, and it is what we are getting here in terms of the effectiveness of the drop. However, the intensity of the music is compensating for it. And it's very, very interesting to see. Let's see where it goes. Up the ramp we go with variation. Sped up variation with a bunch of... and this variation is having a bunch of runs. Runs on music, a run, usually means that you're going really, really fast in the melody. Like you're running melodies really, really fast. Usually you're playing scales really, really fast. That's usually what a run is. So we're having the motif reduced version with runs. Let's see where it goes. Immediately into another build-up with variations in the motif. And we now engage in direct modulation to bring variation. So, direct modulation. So, modulation is something that happens in harmony. Again, three elements of music: melody, harmony, rhythm. Harmony, your chords, what scales you're using, what notes you're using, and there's so many layers of extrapolation that you can go through. However, modulation just means that you're going from one set of chords to a different set of chords. Because usually your scales are going to be made out of 7 notes. And then there's 12 in the chromatic scale. So that means you leave 5 out, and then you can make so many combinations out of that. So modulation means that you're going from one set of chords to a completely different set of chords, usually using what is called the circle of fifths. The circle of fifths is this diagram over here that every musician has to learn. Every musician that really wants to learn, like, in depth, has to learn this. Like, this is this is as basic in music as basic addition and subtraction is in math, right? Like, it looks very complicated because it can be, but knowing this is basically it's basically just bread and butter kind of thing. Which also brings me to, you see these little symbols over here? Those two are the 3 types of notes that you get. In music, you have 3 types of notes. You have natural notes, you have sharps, and you have flats. Naturals are usually without symbol or have this symbol over here. Sharps are usually represented by what people would usually call a hash sign, and flats are usually this little B over here. So a natural note in the keyboard, for example, would be all the white keys in general, except there are specific circumstances where they're not. A sharp just means that you're taking a note and you're raising it half a step. In the case of C, to C sharp. A flat means that you're doing the opposite. You're taking a note and you're bringing it down half a step. So D to D flat. You notice that I'm playing the same note over here because music has something called music has something called enharmonics. Enharmonic just means that it's the same, you're effectively playing the same note, you're just calling it something else. So for example, B sharp, this is B, this is B sharp, this is C sharp, this is C. This is also D double flat. Yeah, there are many, many ways that you can call certain notes, and they all mean the same. That's an enharmonic. So modulation requires you to go from one key signature to another key signature. There's many ways of doing it. Circle of fifths is one of them. Common chord modulation is one of them. There's a lot of ways. However, the one that we engaged in just now is called direct modulation, which means I'm on key number 1. Let's say we're in the key of C major. We're in the key of C major, and now we're in the key of D major. That's it. No common chords, no cadences, nothing like that. We're just going straight for it. That is exactly what has happened here. And direct modulation usually is very useful because you can just repeat everything you just did, just in a new key, and it allows you to just redo the material. It increases the tension. So, and yes, in Super Dragon, welcome today. How you doing? So let's see where this goes. Same material we've done before, just in the new key. A little bit more sped up, it sounds like. Let's see, how are you gonna end this? Variation again, with more runs. Couple of extra variations there. More runs? How are you gonna end this? Okay, we had a brief moment there. Okay, this variation build up, and I think we're gonna go into. And we do one last cadential run into this, and it ends. Man, that was a wild ride. That was wild. And it ends just as suddenly as it started. There you go. That was MAXRAGE extended from the maimai soundtrack. It has a subtitle there, but I can't read Japanese. By EBIMAYO. Once again, everybody, this has been a Basterd's LFA, a layman-friendly analysis. I'm a professionally trained musician, a composer, and my objective here has been to explain things in a way so that you don't have to be one to understand what's happened here musically. So, if you're watching this on the YouTube video archive thing, thank you for watching. Make sure you're following the channel, subscribe to the channel, whatever term you want to use. Like the video, share the video, leave a comment, turn on notifications, become a member. Once again, everybody, if we somehow hit 10,000 subscribers on YouTube before Christmas of 2025, which not very likely, but still possible. If that happens, I will take on top of doing the fan fiction audiobook thing, I will also play a video game of the choice of the community, whatever y'all want live on stream, within terms of service, of course. We'll dedicate some streams to that kind of stuff. This has to be achieved through legitimate and honest means only. No account duping, no botting, no buying followers, no alt accounting, no rat behaviors like that. Go share the videos, the streams with your friends, with your families, with your family's friends, with your friends' families. Those are two very distinct concepts, by the way. With your online and offline communities, go share these videos far and wide with everybody that you know. Use the hype function on YouTube. We have a group on the Discord that coordinates for that. Link down below. Go coordinate with them. Artists, EBIMAYO or anybody else, open invitation to collaborate. I want to collaborate. If you want any of my musical skills, whether it's my guitars, my Mongolian throat singing, you know, the good old kind of thing, or regular singing, voice acting, whatever it is, reach out, let me know, whether it's in the comments, Instagram, Discord, just reach out, let me know. Let's make it work, right? And if you're in the audience and you know somebody could benefit, let them know. Please do not harass anyone. Please do not spam anyone. Keep things cool. Don't be a rat. Members get early access to the content. I schedule the videos for the week on Saturdays, and if you're a paid member on YouTube, regardless of your tier, you get access to the videos when I schedule them, at least for the LFAs. So become a member today. If you want to listen to this without me interrupting every 3.5 seconds, I will be linking it in the description down below. If you want to request a song and you're not on the live stream, check the pinned comment on this video. It has the instructions on what to do. And if you want to catch the streams when they happen live, we aim for Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Central European Time. If you're not in Europe, do not worry. We have the full up-to-date streaming schedule showing in your local time zone in both Discord and Twitch. So if you live in Gisborne and you're like, yeah, but what time is 6 p.m. in Hungary? I don't live there. Do not worry. Just go to Discord or Twitch. They're linked down below. It's going to show in your local time zone. And follow the gaming channel. Follow the gaming channel. I have a gaming channel because, of course, I have a gaming channel. I'm on YouTube. What else could I possibly have? Games are Bastard. That's where I put the gaming after show recordings when they happen. We record them live on stream, and then the recordings go here. Same username as James R. Bastard. Just swap the J for a G, or the link is down below, and you got it. And yeah, there you go. MAXRAGE extended. EBIMAYO, maimai. That was insane, dude. Really, really good stuff. But yeah, let's move on.